Okay, so Yahshua demonstrates how to deal with fear. So Yahshua is our rabbi, right? Right. Yahshua is the one that we need to model after, or copy, right? Right. So there's a ton of fear right now in the world, right? Okay, so as believers in Yahshua and believers in the covenant, people that are keeping the covenant, so not just people who are believers, I believe in Jesus or whatnot, but believers that are actually doing the covenant and who have Rabbi Yahshua as their rabbi and as the one that they're obeying, we need to be operating differently than what the world is doing. So what I'm going to share with you right now is what Ali, I'm paraphrasing what she taught this week in the university. So I don't know if you, I know Kim saw it, Isaac and I saw it, but I don't think you did because you're not in the university. But Ali's gave this incredible talk about fear and this virus and the appropriate response of believers this week in the university. So it was about an hour long teaching, but I'm just going to hit the highlights, but I'm going to do it in a little graphic way. So we're going to learn from Yahshua how we as his disciples, as his Melchizedek priests, how we're supposed to be dealing with what's going on right now. Because the last thing you want to do is operate in the manner that the masses are doing. And so we're set apart people. So our reaction should be completely different. Okay? So, but let's see what Yahshua does. And what we're going to look at is when he was tempted in the wilderness. In the wilderness, we see him confront this. It's amazing. So let's start. Who wants to draw? Okay, so I need 2 worlds here. Who wants to draw?
2.
Okay, I'll draw. Here we go. We got world 1. We've got a world, and then we have a world over here. All right. This world, I don't know. What?
Mommy.
We'll put, I don't know.
Chaos.
And no, I was trying to make plant like this is the original. No, this one's not chaos. This one is the original. How do you spell original?
ORIGIN.
I, not an O.
It comes later.
O-L or A-L? A-L. A-L. Thank you. This is the original. This is the original idea, okay? So Yah's world, and when he created it, is based in free will. I mean, it's free will, okay? Free will. That's his system for this earth was free will, okay? So now, let's see if I can do this. I don't know if they can hear me if I don't have this. I don't know. Maybe they can. All right, so here we have the fallen world, right? So we're going to make it, we're going to have it.
Too many pens.
Okay, here we go. It's still green. We got some, I don't know. Okay. Oh, we've got chains on this one. Yeah, I've got too many pins. So, I'm going to draw a chain. It has a lock. Lock goes like that. There's a lock. Okay, how's that for awful? Maggie, are you gonna do this for me, Maggie? You're the artist. Okay, I can't stand that lock.
No.
Let's see, how cute the lock look.
It was fine. I got it.
I know you did, but like, I'm a perfectionist. Okay, there we go. That's better. All right, so this is the world controlled by
Fear.
no.
Hasatan.
Yes. Okay, controlled by Hasatan. Controlled by Hasatan. Okay. And what does he use to control the world?
Fear.
Fear. So one of the things I really liked in Ali's teaching was that there is a currency of fear that Hasatan uses. So his currency is fear. okay? And in order to, so he uses fear to control the world in order to get his will done here. Okay. So in the original design, how does Yehovah control the world?
Mommy, look at
With love, which is based in free will. True free will. So if somebody says to you, every single plan of your life, everything that you do is ordained by Yehovah, really question that person, because we have true free will. If he ordained every single thing you do in your life, that's not free will. That's a slavery on a different level. And I love the movie we watched during Pesach. That's the movie Moses, right? It's just called Moses, right? And it's a different, it's not with Charlton Heston, it's a different one. And I love when Jethro comes into the tent and Moses and him are having this dialogue about, how Moses is exhausted and Jethro has this idea and everything. But Jethro has these classic lines in there that talk about how, these are slaves that have just transferred from one god to another in their viewpoint. So here were their slaves in Egypt, now they're just going to be slaves to Yahweh. And in their mind, so free will was a completely new idea to them. So Papa cannot control the world because he is all about free will. So here you have Hassan, who has usurped, he has the title deed, and he has wrapped the title deed of the planet in 7 seals, right? So you have the title deed, pretend that's the title deed. Pretend that's the scroll of the title deed, and he's got 7 seals on it, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's just 7 seals that are wrapped, that he can't get the title deed free, or nobody can except who? The Lamb, Yahshua, because he paid the price to get this title deed back, okay? Title deed. So what we're seeing right now is we're seeing the title deed, one of the seals coming off the title deed. And so as, like Ali points out, as Yahshua has the title deed in his hands and he's ripping off the seals, taking away from Hasatan the control that he's had over the planet, as he's ripping that seal off, it's like Hasatan, like how does Ali say, he's an abusive man who goes into just a tyrant and he's pissed off basically. And that's what you're seeing part of right now, is he's just angry that he's losing control. Okay, but first let's go through, we're going to walk through this. There's 2 distinct groups of people that Hasatan wants to control, that he has to control. Here, Isaac, will somebody hold these and then hand them to me?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we'll have you erase this board in a second. There's 2 groups of people that Hasatan has to control on this planet. What's the first group?
the masses.
The masses. The mass.
The
And who's the other group?
Us.
Yeah. There you go. So Amber, you can't see. Us, like the people of Yehovah. Okay? Yah's people. Okay, so as Ali said, these are 2 very, very distinct groups of people. And so in order for him to control both sets, he has to have a very distinct way of controlling them, different ways of controlling these, different ways of getting them to buy into fear, because that's what he's going to use, is the currency of fear. I love that term, the currency of fear. And in order to make, basically it's a currency of fear in order to make transactions with humans. So it's not greed, it's not all these other things that I've thought of before, it's fear. I mean, you would be greedful because you have this fear. So he's gonna try to work a transaction with you using fear, right? So as believers, we gotta be careful and we can't make that transaction. Oh yes, let's see. Classic, can't you see what I wrote? Okay, so who's the master of the masses? Hasatan. Who's the master of these people? Yehovah, right? Very good. So, you know what? I have to do this. Stick
Is
people.
that people?
Yeah,
Yes.
I know, right? And then, whoops. Help me. Help. So the masses, and then just put it over there. Okay. So the challenge for Yehovah's people is to not respond to fear and behave like the masses, accidentally serving the king of the masses. Okay, so that's the challenge. The challenge is for Yah's people to not act and react like the masses are doing, okay? And the masses are driven by fear, which Hasatan uses to do his will. So I just think that to get this picture here is important. We have the currency of fear that Hasatan is using to control the world. He's got two groups of people that he has to figure out how to control with fear. And they're very distinct people. He's going to have very distinct ways in which he's going to use fear to control these two people, okay? So, can you erase this? Where's my... Yes. Erase.
Everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because I...
Alright.
I think... Except this one.
Down there.
Except for the world.
So
Just-
from here? So
Erase
here.
all that, just not the ball.
Okay.
Okay.
And how about the other world?
Get rid of it.
Indeed.
What part of all except that don't you get?
You're being smart.
I'm being smart.
You're being a pill.
I'm being a pill. Okay. All right. So, Ali said, and I totally agree with this, that fear makes us more vulnerable to sin. Okay. So how would a wrong response as a believer in Yeshua, a wrong response to fear, like if we were to operate like the masses, what's the point of that? Why would he care about that? Because we would be more vulnerable to breaking the covenant and sinning, okay? And then we would be part of the masses and he could control us there. And serving him, because really that's all what he wants, isn't it? Isn't it what does Hasatan want?
What does he want?
What does Hasatan want? He wants yes, but what was the reason that he fell in the first place? Who did he want to be?
Serve himself.
He wanted to be God. He wanted to be Elohim. He wanted to be Yahovah. He wanted everyone to serve him. He wanted all the praise, all the worship, all the glory, right? So his whole goal is to have you worship him. Okay, so he's got the masses pretty much under his thumb, but if he can get Yah's people to believe a few things, then we are going to be more, if we're going to be tempted by fear to turn to him and say, okay, I'll serve you because I can't handle the fear anymore. Okay, so we have to get a few things under our grasp here. So one of the things I like how Ali said, she's like, you can't just ignore what's going on with the masses. The masses are going to impact the decisions of the masses are going to impact us as believers. So you can't just completely ignore what they're doing, right? And just deal with what, just us and Yehovah. Because what the masses do affects us. So what I was thinking was, if I go like this, like the stick people. Okay, if I could figure out how to draw this, I would. But say all the masses go to one side of the planet and make it lopsided. And you've got,
Okay.
and you have the human, and you have the Yaz person over there going, can I stay on? So you've got, that's the idea is that you've got the masses are going to affect, because we live in this world. No, we're not supposed to be of this world, but we're going to live in it until the king comes back and takes off this and off the chains and then restores paradise restored and free will. But anyway, that's the idea. It's like, that's what I saw in my head, is everybody doing stupid things. Or maybe like if they use it as a trampoline, and you're sitting there going, okay, I'm getting dizzy. That's what it feels like right now. You guys are freaking out of control. I'm getting dizzy. Okay, so the masses, the behavior of the masses actually might very much impact us, which we can see right here. This is very much the masses are involved with this nonsense going on with the virus and stuff, as Ali said. So, oh, here we go. Oh, this is cool. Let me see if I can draw this one. And to think Yahweh as a bed. Okay, so here's one of the biggest things. Okay, here's the way that Yahweh, or that Hasatan is going to try to gain control over us by using fear with a believer. He's going to try to make you think that Yahweh has abandoned you. Okay, so here's a planet. Here's your planet. Oh, this is fun. Oh, green. Okay. Let's see if I can. What does America look like? I don't know. I didn't do. It's Hawaii. I want to go to Hawaii. Okay. Okay. Here's a human. All right.
I don't feel too good.
There's somebody right there. Okay. Okay, so now this human has some fear, okay? So fear. I just went like that. It's like fear, okay? And you've got two voices, right? You're gonna have this one. And then you've got that one's coming from the pit of hell. That one's coming from Papa. So you're scared because the planet's kind of going to hell. And Yahweh says, keep my commands. Right? And you have Hasatan telling you, Yah has abandoned you. Abandoned you. I don't know how to spell it. Okay, so he's going to try to make the agreement with you that he has abandoned, that you've been abandoned. I don't even know what.
That's my medicine.
You're just the evil one. I don't know.
Actually, my
It's like.
Okay.
There. Tongue.
Okay.
Horns.
Antennas.
There you go. Well, antennas. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. So it's through the fear of abandonment. Fear of abandonment. That's what he's going to try to offer to us. Okay, so here's the beautiful thing we're going to walk through is how Yahshua demos how to deal with this. Okay? I need the eraser, man. Erase.
Everything?
Yes, if I had more people, I would probably go through this and streamline it, but since you love me and you love me.
Yes, keep going.
All right, Yahshua is going to demo this. He's going to tell us exactly what we're supposed to do.
You need a whiteboard with a little tray on
Oh yes, I know, right?
Erase the world?
Yes, please. Erase them both.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. two things that are super powerful. Okay, here's Yahshua. Let's see. We'll go. We're gonna. Okay, he's got some hair. He's like. He's exhausted. Okay, 40 days. Can you see? Amber? I can see. I know, I'm horrible. I'm a terrible stick person driver. You want to know? Okay, so here we Yahshua. Yeah, oh, see,
We know who it is. It's Yahshua.
I know, right? Perfectionist. I can't think if it's wrong. Okay, Yahshua in the wilderness.
What wilderness?
Okay, so he's gone 40 days and 40 nights without food, and he's thirsty, he's exhausted, and here comes Hasatan. So that bad guy with the... and he's going to speak down to Yahshua, and he's going to tempt Yahshua. What is he going to tempt Yahshua with?
Bread.
He's going to, but behind that, he's going to tempt Yahshua to believe that Yehovah has abandoned him. And because Yehovah has abandoned him, he's going to tempt Yahshua to make his own bread and save himself. Okay? So he's going to say, turn these rocks into bread and save yourself. Right? Because he wants him to believe that Yehovah has abandoned him. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's go. YHVH has abandoned you. Save yourself. Okay?
Did really Hasatan say that to him?
Basically, that's what Hasatan wanted Yahshua to believe, and Yahshua to say, you know what, Papa's abandoned me. Yahshua's almost probably on the verge of death right here. 40 days and 40 nights without food, and I think it says food and water. I don't know how you could live without water that much, but doesn't it say food and water?
Yeah.
I think it does.
Translation issue.
It could be a translation issue. I don't know. But point being is that he's probably almost gone, and Hasatan comes to him and says, save yourself, make yourself bread. So what does Yahshua do? What does he say? He pulls back to Deuteronomy 8:3. And again, this is Ali's study, and I just love it. So I want to read. So Ali, if you're watching this, because Ali's our international chick on the band, so she's here. I'm just trying to demo it with some very pathetic graphics. But Hasatan wants to tempt Yahshua to believe that Yahweh has abandoned him, and that so Yahshua will make his own food. But Yahshua is like, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yehovah, right? And he's pulling from Deuteronomy 8:3, where he talks about to humble. Will somebody read it to me? Somebody read.
Deuteronomy 8:3?
Yeah.
Pull it up right now. 8:3?
Yeah.
8:4. Oh, is it 8:4, Miss Nora?
It might go on to 8:4, 8:3, 8:4, 8:5, maybe.
Okay. And he humbled you and let you hunger and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord.
Yeah. So he's pulling back to that, to his father's words. And there's this mikvah of suffering in here that is pretty amazing that you have to go through. But Yahshua is concerned with Yahweh's covenant instructions to guard his commandments, not saving himself. So he's not concerned with saving himself. He's concerned with Yahweh's covenant instructions. So in the moment of him almost dying, in the moment of him being tempted to believe, or tempted to buy into the idea that Yahweh has abandoned him, and save himself by making himself bread, Yahshua actually says, no, I'm going to guard the covenant. I'm going to guard the commands. I mean, that's an action right there that is just, it's truly amazing. So let's go on. So then when that fails, then what does Hasatan do? Then what does he do? When that fails. Interesting, Ali brought up the fact that Hasatan can't make anything. He can't create anything. So he doesn't actually offer Yahshua actual bread to say, here's some bread, now follow me. He has nothing. He can't make anything. So he, and throughout the course of her teaching, she was talking about how Hasatan steals from the masses in order to, give to those elite ones who have sold their soul out to him. And this is kind of what he's stealing from, and he's going to steal from Yeshua's ability to create bread and turn it right back on him. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Okay, so what does he do after this? That was the first thing. But the second thing, when this doesn't work, when he cannot make Yahshua save himself this way and believe that Papa's abandoned him, then what does he do?
Sorry. What does it look like? I don't know.
Is that the building?
So what does he say? Say what?
Is that the building?
Yeah.
Oh, to jump off.
Yeah. So Hasatan
says to Yeshua, basically kill yourself then.
Very profound teaching.
Wasn't that, the way she laid it out and when she said that, I went, you're right. Okay, so right now, as far as I understand, suicides have been escalating like through the roof is what I understand. Now I'm not listening to the news a lot, but what I understand is like the hopelessness, the despair and everything. So people are concerned whether they're going to wake up in the morning. If the world's going to be here still tomorrow morning. I mean, it's like insanity. And so they believe that they've been abandoned. They're trying to save themselves. And if that doesn't work, then Hasatan gives them this option. Kill yourself. Because what is he? He's a thief. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So he's going to, try to steal the wealth or steal from the masses to do his works. He's going to try to just kill you outright. He's going to destroy. So I just find this is so amazing to look at what Yeshua does and how does he react to this one? When number one fails, Hasatan tempts him to kill himself and end his immediate suffering, right? And Yeshua just knows. He's like, if I can just get through this, I've got good things coming. And so he doesn't give in to that ending the suffering right at the moment. Deuteronomy 6:16-17. So who look that up for me? And let's read that, Amber.
Deuteronomy 6 what?
16-17. So this is what he quotes.
You shall not put the Lord your God to the test, as you tested him at Massah.
Okay, yeah, so at Massah, and that is actually, go to Exodus 17 then.
You shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God,
Yeah.
and his testimonies, and his statutes, which he has commanded you. And you shall do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may go well with you, and that you may go in and take possession of the good land that the Lord swore to give to your fathers, by thrusting out all your enemies from before you, as the Lord has promised.
Okay, so you see him pull back to, don't try YHVH as you did in Massah. So then in Exodus 17, what happened in Massah?
It was Exodus 17?
Exodus 17. So you did Deuteronomy 6:16. So Yeshua is quoting Deuteronomy 6:16 there. It says, don't try YHVH as you did in Massah. And then that it's referring to the event that happened in Exodus 17.
The water at the rock?
Mm-hmm. That they doubted that he was with them. Right?
All the covenant no water was for the people to drink. Do you have a certain verse?
I don't have a verse
for it?
there.
Do you want me to just read?
Yeah, just look
17?
and
It's not very
skim through it and just go, what was the event that happened? Skim through
So
it.
this says they camped at Rephidim. Is
Mhm.
that the the same as?
As math, I think. Are you in Exodus 17?
Yep. Exodus 17, it's water from the rock.
Okay.
Moses, why do you test the Lord? Okay, so it says, all the congregation of the people of Israel moved on from the wilderness of sin by stages, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped at Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people quarreled with Moses and said, give us water to drink. And Moses said to them, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord? But when the people thirsted for water, and the people grumbled against Moses and said, why did you bring us up out of Egypt to kill us, our children and our livestock with thirst? But I'm wondering.
Yeah, that's it. Because they were on the
same as.
They were on the.
In verse 7 it says, so he called the name of the place
Massa.
Massa. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So then
So
they
it
were
was changed
thirsty.
after then. Okay.
They were thirsty just like Yahshua was, and they tested him, and they didn't believe and they didn't trust, right? But Yahshua chooses to do different. So one of the things. So Amber, you read.
I'm gonna
when you're
go
done.
to her.
Yeah. Amber read in Deuteronomy 6, 16, and 17 that the actual, it says, actually, can we reread that? Deuteronomy 6, 16 to 17, just that little bit right there. What Yahshua actually quotes. Because it says,
I had already moved on.
oh, sorry. Don't try Jehovah as you did in Massa, and then X. There's that, then what? We need to see what that is.
6, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. So you shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, his testimonies, his statutes, and what he has commanded you.
Okay, so don't test him, but keep his commands. So there's like this beautiful interplay there of here, don't do this, but do this. So one of the things that Ali pointed out was that the word commands there. Actually, Isaac, can you erase this? There you go. Are you cold?
Not anymore?
Good. Everyone, this is Isaac, my husband. This is Maggie, my daughter. My oldest, that's Hadassah, my daughter. This is Kim right here. And this is Amber. And where'd your daughter go? Do you leave her outside?
No.
Like, what you do?
I'm like, this is what you get. No, she said that her tummy was hurting and she wasn't feeling good.
Oh.
So.
Okay. Where is she?
And my niece came and picked her up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm like, we're just gonna leave her outside. She'll be fine.
I know you believe in children playing alone.
I know, right? Downtown, Coeur d'Alene,
Not
by
downtown.
herself, 4 years old. We'll see what really happens. Sorry.
Okay, so Deuteronomy 6, 16 to 17. Deuteronomy 6, 16, 17. So 16 says, don't try Jehovah. Try. Like our ancestors.
I'm hoping.
This part of it says, don't try Jehovah like your ancestors did. 17 says, right in the next breath, guard the commandments.
Yes, diligently.
Guard the command.
What does this keep? Is that the same as guard?
Keep guard diligent. This is diligently. Okay, so one of the things that she makes a point of looking at is this word commands. It's actually a better translation. Well, mitzvah is and it actually has, this is be a mitzvah. And a better, and this is super cool. This is like, I feel like a gold nugget here.
Yep.
A better translation of the word mitzvah isn't commandments, but connection. So Jehovah has already provided a connection to him. So one of the things like Isaac has been lamenting lately was missing that feely sort of prayer that Christianity has, just a ton, you just pray with all the, just with what's going on in your own head. And I'm not saying there's not prayer on that level where you give your heart, you're just having heart-to-heart conversation, but the prayer of like, when Christians go into it, here they're breaking all the commandments, but then they go into this prayer of, put my hands on you, and I want to bless you, I want to pray for you, I want, to see this change in your life, and blah, 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 and yet they're breaking everything, right? And so they think that this is the connection is just, I'm just going to praise your name. I know it's Sunday, but I'm going to praise your name today. Oh, yeah, And in all reality, they're doing nothing except Hasadan's happy. Lip service. And so the connection that he has said that he wants us to pay attention to is not a 2-hour worship service in a church. What he wants us to pay attention to is this connection he's already created through the mitzvos, through the covenant commandments found in Exodus 19 through 24.
So another meaning of mitzvah is connection.
Yeah, that's a better translation.
And that's cool because it even tells you in the Bible, they will know you by your works. They will know that you are, and having that, and that right there is a connection. You're connected to the Father by doing His works and doing the things that He says. So that's cool. I've never heard of.
I know.
Something like that. I've always it's mitzvah. It's a command. It's
but it's a connection.
It's deeper.
Yeah, it's so much deeper. It's a connection point to Him. And as we're going to look here when we move on to actually looking at the calendar, because Rosh Hashanah is coming up, we're going to see that this is the way we stay in this connection with Him is through the rhythm of the feast days. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, He's got this beautiful rhythm with things He wants to talk about at this time of year, and that's where we should be staying, in that flow of that river, of that connection, not saying, now that I have eyes to see and ears to hear, when I see congregations and groups of people worshiping with their hands up, big stadiums full, and they're praying to Jesus, and I'm like, you're not in the connection. You're not actually getting there.
Meeting Him on His day that He wants you to. Exactly. And His day on His thing and His time, they're doing their own feast and their own, just like Queen Vashti, they're doing their own thing. Just
and
like
they think.
The Israelites with the golden calf, they thought that would be a way to connect to God, and it's not. That is, I believe that the Sunday church is a version of the golden calf. You gotta think about it.
Exactly, good point. And I like how Ali brought out in that is that Israel had, I like how she said, Israel had no business, no business distrusting and feeling abandoned by Him, because they had just seen miracle after miracle after miracle, and they get there, and it wasn't Moses that was the one delivering the miracles. It was Yehovah, and Moses was just the in-between person.
There's a connection to God.
Yeah, but they forgot that it was Yehovah behind him that was doing all this stuff.
The masses.
Yeah, exactly. The masses. All right. So we're going to guard, and this is diligently guard. So one of the things you're going to see about the month of Aviv is he says guard the month of Aviv, because if you don't guard the month of Aviv, you don't know where any of the feast days fall. So that is like super cool. She was mentioning, let's see, mitzvah, the word is more, how do you say that? T-Z-A-V-T-A?
Where is it?
Do you remember this one, Kim? T-Z?
No, I don't.
I actually typed it into it's a beautiful, Ali said it's a beautiful word. Satva? Yeah, how do you say it?
Zapta.
Yeah, Zapta. So the word is mitzvah, but is it the root or what? Now I can't remember what she said.
I don't remember either.
Can't remember if it's like, anyway, sorry, Ali. Do you remember that one?
Is that the root of
The mitzvah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what it was. It was the root.
Looks like
That word. It's a beautiful word which means connection. Okay. So we guard the way He's given us a connection to Him. All right, so let me see if I can. Okay.
And what does Zapta mean?
I don't remember.
Connection.
Oh.
So it's the root of Mitzvah?
Is the root of
It's a-
it.
It would
yeah.
have a different meaning, wouldn't it? If it was the root word.
Well, yes. So mitzvah means commands, but the root of mitzvah is zavta, which means connection. So a better translation and understanding what he's meaning by using that word would be to look at the root and go, yes, it is commands. Absolutely. Strong word. Command. I command you. But it's a connection.
Connection or joining. This is the root word which can be found in Hebrew mitzvah,
Cool.
which means command.
Cool. Right.
Cool.
Nice. Okay, so there's 2 outcomes. We're gonna.
This is good.
Okay, so there's 2 outcomes to fear, right? To fear. What is the first outcome to fear? So you're going to operate in fear. You see it all around us right now.
What's the
You're going-
stages of
Save
fear?
The
yourself.
2 save yourself. So you look at Yahshua in the wilderness. What were the two of the things? Yeah, I know I had 3, but in the 2 we talked about today, the first outcome of fear would be
Food.
save yourself,
Oh,
make your own
save
food,
yourself.
save yourself. And the second one would be, so you save yourself, you create your own bread, you stock up more than your neighbor. I liked when Ali said that. She like I thought, I was like, whoa, that's right. I got more than my neighbors got. Okay, and the second outcome to fear, result of fear, if you operate in fear,
In the suffering.
in the suffering,
And
kill yourself.
suffering.
Say, kill yourself. Yeah, so that you would be put out of your immediate misery, okay? But Yahshua, I like how she said that we're, if we operate right here, you kill yourself because you're so scared and fearful of suffering that you'd want to die. You're scared of the idea of suffering, And I think, when we were at the teepee, suffering constantly. You suffered with the mice in your house. You're suffering right now where you live. I mean, big time suffering, right? So, but there's this perfection happening in you when you deal with that and you walk through that suffering. You go through the mikvah of that suffering. So you had a huge mikvah of suffering. You're going through a mikvah of suffering. You're not done yet.
Still strong.
You're going through it. You're good. Keep going. And we've gone through mikvahs of suffering. And if you don't give in to these 2 outcomes of fear, you're going to have that mikvah and you're going to come up on the other side a lot more proved. You're proving out to him that you are going to obey in all circumstances. You're proving to him that you've let go of your own life, actually, and that you're trusting him, that you don't believe he's abandoned you, I know my family, like my mom and dad, they have that Christian mentality of, if he's not, if he's really working in my life, then I'm going to see a level of income. I'm going to see a level of how
bad will happen.
Nothing bad will really happen to you.
Because the church teaches it.
Yes, it does. The church teaches that. You can go to this discipleship course, and then your life is going to be better. You can go to this marriage seminar, and your marriage is going to be great. You can be the greatest parent on the earth. There's just this almost you're trying to ascend to this where nothing fluctuates. It's a perfect life where nothing affects you, sort of thing, and you've got this perfect.
It's a lie.
Can I? I want to swear so bad. Okay, I didn't. I wanted to swear so bad. So I don't see Yeshua's life like that at all. Yeshua's life was, King David, up, down, King David's praise Yahuwah. Where are you? Praise Yahuwah. You hate me. Oh, praise you. My enemies are after me. He's up and down, up and down. Okay, but Yeshua shows us another option. So what is Yeshua? The third option to fear. Whoops. I know, perfectionist. Third option. So Yahshua, whoops. Shut up, Maggie. 4. That didn't look very good.
You're fine.
Yeshua's option to fear. What is it? Awesome. Okay, this is where we're going to learn 2 words. And they start with R. Each one of them.
Run.
Resist and
Repeat.
Rely.
Yeah, good guess.
So who are we going to resist
Hasatan.
Hasatan?
and fear, and who are we going to rely on? Yehovah. That's right. So Yeshua's option to what is happening out in the world right now with all the fear mongering and all the save yourself and eventually turning into kill yourself because it's overwhelming for somebody who has no solid ground, who does not believe that Yehovah is the creator. They are, give them another week of this? Give them a month of this? And you're going to see so much. It's just going to be pathetic. But our reaction as believers is going to be completely different. So, like in one of the talk I gave last weekend, so instead of we were here 2 weeks ago, and then last weekend with all the snow, I hunkered down in my office and did a video of 12 things that we need to do right now. And one of those things is edit our mouth. So that means we're not going to be talking like everyone else. So I'm not going to, like in the ladies group, I am not allowing any posts on it. I am editing in the sense of, I'm not saying it's normal as normal,
They're trying to cause fear.
They're trying to cause fear. And when you've got people who are not solidly grounded, they cannot hear. It's like you say you can't watch visually things because it impacts you so greatly. When you hear things, and for me, yes, it does. It interferes with my relationship with him. That fear comes and just is very hard to if you're not a super strong person, you don't have a good support system, it's super easy to buy into this and start to panic, right?
The way that I have been thinking about this is there is a way to be safe, but there's also a way not to have fear. And because when you are resisting and you are relying on the Father, there's not really anything to, and that's how I feel. I'm not really afraid about it. I'm just here. I'm watching everybody. I'm like, I get extra time off from it. Cool.
Yeah.
But you have the confidence that you're obedient. You are guarding the commands. There's a level of confidence that others don't have.
And I'm like, I didn't even realize it at first because I'm like, but it's nice too because when you're not having all of that stuff in your face on social media, and
you're off.
It also really helps too because you're like,
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram.
The world is still here today. What do you mean? The sun just came up. The birds are still singing. The stream is still flowing.
Right.
I've been getting out in nature just a little bit more than normal, just because I'm like, it's gorgeous out for one, and it's starting to be spring. But I'm also, that's where the sanity is out there. But at the same time, going downtown and everything and doing my business, I'm like, I'm not asking for it. So I'm not approaching someone and rolling my eyes and going, oh, isn't this, or saying, oh, stay away from me 6 feet distant. I got stories to tell of what happened. People around me are going nuts. Opening doors like this, walking around me like this. And one of the things Ali was talking about is you can see how fear is it's a mass thing right now of how people are treating each other.
Yes. See, and that's one that...
She said she went to a clinic, I think it was a clinic. I don't know if it was a hospital or a clinic, but it's someone in the medical field, and they had a sign on the door that said, "Don't come in if you're exhibiting any signs of being sick." It's like,
they actually have separate tents for people if you have a cough, fever. It's really interesting. I'm like, hospitals are full of germs, I'm pretty sure.
The hospitals for the sick sort of thing. What?
You catch something worse.
Oh, it's just So one of the things too, I wanted to, let's see if it's right here. Yeah. Okay, so just write these down and you can look at these later, but, let's see. Okay, Exodus 15:26, Exodus 23:25, and Deuteronomy 7:15. So Exodus 15:26, Exodus 23:25, Deuteronomy 7:15. I'll say it again because you just started.
Yeah.
Here,
Did you say Exodus 20:25?
I said Exodus 15:26, Exodus 23:25, and Deuteronomy 7:15.
Deuteronomy what?
7:15. So these verses talk about the fact that if you obey the commandments, if you obey the covenant, then you will not get the diseases of the nations. You will not get sick, that sort of sickness. Cough, sickness when, cold or something, that's different. But you're not going to die from that if you keep his promises. Now, there's something that I do all the time, especially when we're at the TP. I look at these and what he said, and I look at Papa, and I say, I am keeping and guarding your covenant as best as I know how. You said right here, oh yeah.
I'm reminding you.
I'm reminding you, I want this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do not give me this, it ain't my name that's, smeared. That would be your problem. If you choose to not give me this, I'm going to trust you anyway, but I'm your problem. So I really, really look at Papa and say, I'm holding you to this. And help me know how to guard your covenant the best. Help me understand how to repent the best that I possibly can so I can have this. This is one of the reasons we're even in this movement, is because back in the day, 12 years ago or whatnot, I opened the scriptures and I started reading and I saw the Melchizedek covenant as bright as day. I didn't have words for it back then, but I saw Exodus 19-24. There was a complete contract right there. There was no sacrifices in it, only gift offerings as sacrifices. And I saw that and I went, oh, I can keep that. That's when the whole Melchizedek covenant started coming alive in my own ideas and then my own understanding of Revelation. And then Dr. David Perry ended up sitting on our couch and he said, he gave me words. He's like, that's what I have written a dissertation about. And I was like, really? And it confirmed, and then we started walking together on it. But, I was like, man, I can totally do this because I want that protection. When I had little girl, it was, your mom, a husband, a daddy, you have little kids and you start seeing these innocent children in this horrible, wicked world, and you're like, and you start getting older and you realize, this is a tough walk, and you're like, I want that protection. So what do I need to do? And I saw that and I basically slammed the scriptures closed and said, I want that. And I'll give anything to have that. So, and I got it. I've got it now. And I want to read Deuteronomy 28:58-64. Will somebody read that? Deuteronomy 28:58-64.
Deuteronomy what?
28:58-64.
58-64.
Yeah, read that for me.
There's so many numbers in my Bible. Okay. 58-64. If you are not careful to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that you may fear this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, then the Lord will bring on you and your offspring extraordinary afflictions severe and lasting, and sicknesses grievous and lasting, and he will bring upon you again all the diseases of Egypt, of which you were afraid, and they shall cling to you, every sickness also and every affliction that is not recorded in the book of this law, the Lord will bring upon you until you are destroyed. Whereas you were as numerous as the stars of heaven, you shall be left few in number, because you did not obey the voice of the Lord your God. And 64, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And as the Lord took delight in doing you good and multiplying you, so the Lord will take delight in bringing ruin upon you and destroying you. And you shall be plucked off the land that you are entering to take possession of it. And the Lord will scatter you among all the peoples from one end of the earth to the other. And there you shall serve other gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your fathers have known.
That happened. So that is a prophecy that happened already, but I think we can also look at it and say, if we don't obey the covenant and guard the covenant, the same thing's going to happen again. History will repeat itself, right? So what I want to just leave with today is we're going to resist and rely. We're going to do what Yahshua did. So we're going to resist fear and abandonment. Resist.
So I just have a really quick question. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, yeah.
But you were saying, so if you believe that if you keep the law of the covenant, then like it won't affect you?
Well, I'm saying that you won't get the diseases of the nations. You will not experience the diseases that he gave Egypt. So you can look at what's going on right now and you can say,
Yeah. So kind of like
who's delivering it?
how they were protected in Egypt and how that was, okay.
If, now that, okay, so there's the covenant, Exodus 19 through 24. So I refer to what the contract that Israel made with him back in Exodus 24 when they sprinkled the blood on the scroll, on the book, and then on the people. That was a contract to that covenant. They broke that contract. They didn't break the covenant. I mean, they broke the covenant, but they broke the contract to that covenant. That covenant is everlasting. That covenant is not going anywhere. It's in the Ark of the Covenant. It's everlasting. So, but there was a contract to that covenant that was broken 40 days later with the golden calf incident. Okay? So they entered in and they said, yes, we will obey. Right? And it had, and maybe you haven't heard this teaching, but it was like a wedding. So they entered into this contract with their husband that said, we will obey, we will not commit adultery on you. And then they said, whatever you tell us to do, we'll do it. So he goes and he lays out everything he wants them to do, Exodus 19 through 24. In 23, he actually gives the promises. If you keep this, then I will do this. So if you're faithful to me as a virgin wife, you're mine, then I will do this for you, okay? And so then they enter a contract that says, we promise to do this and you promise to do this. 40 days later, what did they do? They committed adultery by worshiping another god, having another god between them, right? So they broke that first contract. Right at that moment, it kicked in Yehovah's his provision of the Levitical priesthood. It wasn't the original intent. All of a sudden, they became not a nation of priests, but a nation with priests. So all of a sudden, they were not capable of, or no longer eligible to be a nation of priests to go out in the world and bring everybody in because they're sick. It's kind of like they are just sick. So they needed what was called prescriptive medicine, basically, prescriptive law, imposed law. That's the Levitical law. That's imposed law. Was never covenant law. The only covenant law is 19 through 24.
Okay.
You read it straight.
Yeah.
19
through 24.
24, you'll see the whole covenant right there. He starts with the 10 commands, but he doesn't stop. It's Israel that makes him stop at 10 and goes, I can't stand you, 10. Don't yell at us anymore. Tell Moses, and we'll obey. And so then he continues, right? And then he says what he will do and the rewards for keeping this. And then they enter into this blood contract. And they have, in a blood ratified, you have different kinds of covenants in the scriptures, but this one is a blood ratified covenant which had a death position. Oh, it's a long.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't go there. But anyway, it had blood and it had a covenant confirming meal on the floor of heaven. So the 70 elders and Moses went up to the floor of heaven, had a covenant confirming meal right after the covenant was made, and they ate and drank before Yehovah and probably danced and had a great party. Okay, and then they broke that contract. Then kicks in the Levitical law, which is temporary. It's like a temporary bridge. Okay, then you get all the sacrifices of animal atonement, all that other stuff.
Is that from after Exodus 24?
Yes.
After Exodus 24.
He goes up to the mountain and he gets instructions for the tabernacle. But then he, at the same time, Yehovah can see what's going on down in the camp. He starts to give the Aaronic, you'll see some Aaronic stuff going on in there. But when he comes down, you'll see Moses goes back up and he gets more law. That's when you see more law. Okay, so then there's this temporary bridge that's going to allow Yehovah's presence to be with Israel until Yahshua comes. Okay, so when Yahshua comes, he brings a new contract. So that's what the new covenant is. It's a new contract to that same law. Okay, so and this is a huge study, and we're going to talk lots more of this on Shavuot, because that's all about covenant. So we'll walk through that real slowly, because I want to keep you with me on that, because that one's a huge thing. But just know that there's these two contracts.
Yeah.
One was broken. The new covenant, what we know as the new covenant, that's a new contract. Okay, so the benefits of excuse me, I need some water. Where's my water?
And also the Israelites were in fear in Exodus 20, after the 10 Commandments, it says, the people saw the thunder and lightning, they heard the trumpet, they saw the mountain covered with smoke, they trembled with fear and stayed a long way off.
Yes, that's good. And we're going to talk more about that at Shavuot for sure. Okay, so like I was saying, there's covenant benefits, contract benefits.
Yeah.
There's covenant benefits, but we'll have to talk about that later. So all I know is what Papa's written down in his word, and I'm like, I want that. Okay, so we're just going to resist and realize this is what Yahshua taught us to do in the midst of fear, and what to do with fear. We're going to resist fear and abandonment, and we're going to rely on Papa Yah. Not necessarily rely on the prayer idea with whatever's just in our own heads, but to rely on the connection that he's already provided, which is keeping his covenant. Okay? And the connection he's already provided. All right, how's that going, Isaac? Is the shoes going okay? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so one more thing we're going to talk. You got that written down? One more thing here, which is the most powerful part of this. You got it here. Which is, I think, the connection part's pretty powerful, but this one is going to, this blew my socks off when Ali said this. So, we're going to ask ourselves a question. The question that most of the time we always ask, and I've asked it a lot. I always think, what does Papa see when he looks at me? I think, I want Papa's eyes, the rock crocodile in Rome, its eyes roam to and fro the earth, trying to see, is there anyone paying attention? And I'm like, I am. I want him to be pleased with me, right? And I always think that. But Allie's question kind of blew my mind. So we're going to ask Allie's question here. What does Hasatan see when he looks at you?
Me.
What?
Me.
What does Hasatan see when he looks at me? When he looks at me.
Personalizing it as.
Thank you. No, that's good. What does Hasatan see when he looks at me? Whoops. So what does he see when he looks at you? Remember, there's the two camps. There's two groups of people. Does he see you as part of the masses? That he can work his fear and make a transaction with you through fear?
No.
Or does he see you as the
Where'd Maggie go?
Or does he see you as the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, of Yehovah?
Yes.
Yes. And if he sees you as the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, the temple of Yehovah, he flees. He can't stand there. It's light. It's so much light shining from you that he is full darkness. And darkness cannot mix with light, right? So he is going to completely flee. So when Yahshua was in the wilderness and he was tempted with fear, like we're being tempted right now with this virus and everything going on, and the conspiracy theories are out of freaking control with everything, the governments, the World Health Organization, and everyone else that's like panicking, and including believers and people on stage who are teaching. They are underscoring it by talking about it. They're underscoring it by trying to like help you understand what's really what the virus is, and what this government's going to do, and how you need. And Nehemiah Gordon the other day had somebody on who said you need to flee America, and I'm like, and the person he had on looked like a lesbian, and I'm like, yeah, right. Boom. It takes a mature person to be able to turn that off, but I tell you, it sits there in your head, and it just like, and you have to resist, and you have to rely, and you have to say, get away from me, Hasatan, and he will leave. Remember, he leaves Yahshua alone, and it says that he leaves him alone for a season, for a time. Actually, he has to withdraw for a time, actually, not just for the angels to come and nurse Yahshua back to life, and then as soon as he leaves, then he's back on. He gets some break, right? And I just love this idea that Ali put out here, was that, well, how does Hasatan see you? Does he look at you and go, ain't messing with her. She's a temple, and I leave her alone. That's what I want. So I want two things. I want Papa to come through on his word and fulfill the promises that he's made. If I'm compliant to his government, not compliant to this world's government, but if I'm compliant to his, and I want Hasatan to look at me and go, blinded, blinded, can't do nothing with her, blinded. I want Papa's protection. I want his protection. It's just, this planet is too scary, it's too strange, it's too out of control to be without his protection. And what we're seeing is the masses being controlled with fear, buying the currency of fear, he's using the currency of fear with the masses right now to make transactions with them, to create a change globally that we're not going to see. We're not going to know exactly why, like Ali was saying, but in the end, we know that Papa sees what's going on, and he's got control over what he knows is going to happen in the future. So he's going to take this. Yahshua is pulling the seal off, and this is making Hasatan mad. But he's going to use this to push through to the end. It's going to be a little bumpy ride. But if we till the birth is all done, right? But if we can do this, be the temple, and be it well, and be light, and the way that we do that is by having that righteousness in us and by doing the right things. And what he's saying is guard the covenant. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to just talk about Rosh Hashanah for just a little bit, because that's next on it. And this is a great thing to talk about the idea of all the world events and stuff. We need to deal with this for sure, but now let's get on to guarding the covenant. So we can put blinders on and say, you can go ahead and have whatever freaked outness you want, I'm going to go right up to somebody and hug them. I'm like, what are you talking about? All this other, I'm so focused on his things that this is going to pass, and I won't even know it because I'm like preparing Passover or preparing Shavuot. I'm not even going to be really paying attention. So, all right, let's pray. Yehovah Elohim, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, King of the universe, the great and mighty warriors you are. Just praise your name, Yehovah. in all the earth. I want to sanctify it, and I want to do that by proclaiming your name and praising it and using it. And I want to obey and follow your ways and guard your covenant so that I can resist Hasatan and his lies. And I want to rely completely on you for everything. I shall not stock up. I shall simply listen to the Ruach HaKodesh and do as I am instructed in the way that you made for us to commune with you, which is through this connection of your feast rhythm, through the covenant, through all the ways that show us who you are and how to obey. Papa Yah, I know that this is going to be a bumpy ride. I just pray that we have solid feet and solid ground with you, and at the same time, let go and let you. And help us to love each other and support each other and be light for you in this crazy darkness. And may we commune with you in ways that, man, help us to just be one with you like we've never been one before. Love you. Amen. Yay! As people who guard the covenant, we are going to start by starting at Rosh Hashanah, which is the head of the year. So how fun is this? This is like perfect timing. So super important to get on track correctly. So what I'm going to explain here is reckoning of time. So we reckon time in order to find his calendar. So this is where a lot of people get all screwy. Okay, so they say the calendar, but the calendar is his feast rhythm. That's his calendar. Okay, so when we look at the Gregorian calendar, you can basically say everything kind of revolves around New Year's Day, and then it starts off, right? So the calendar with the pagans it starts with January 1st, okay? So, and then they follow, and then they can find out, February 14th is Valentine's Day, and blah, 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 all the way down, okay? The calendar is his feast rhythm. How to reckon time according to the scriptures is how we find the very first day of his calendar, and that starts on Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so what does Rosh mean? Head of the Shana? Year. So head of the year. So Rosh Hashanah means head of the year. Okay, so I'm not going to go into it, but I'm just going to make a note here that the Jewish in people who are Jews, if they keep the rabbinical calendar, their Rosh Hashanah is in the fall. And I've got articles here I was going to read you, but there's no time. There's articles that show how that switch happened, and it's basically a cover-up. The rabbis did a cover-up of the true meaning of Yom Teruah by moving Rosh Hashanah to Yom Teruah. It covers up his return. So super sick, super sad, but we are, as Melchizedek priests, going to restore the trueness of the feast days and the calendar. So this is the calendar, and reckoning of the time is one of the most hotly debated topics, and one that we have come into super amount of fire on over the course of the years. But we've sharpened our swords, so we know what we believe and why we believe it. We've never wandered from this calendar. Many, many teachers have gone through this calendar and this calendar and this calendar. They try all these calendars, and they try to create their own calendar, and then they're leading people. And it's like, if you're not sure about this calendar, you shouldn't open your mouth until you are 100% positive you go to the wall for it. I will go to the wall for this calendar. This is the calendar that he taught us at the very beginning, and we have not strayed from it, and it has worked out beautifully. This is the calendar and the reckoning of time to find his calendar that he shows up on feast days for us to prove to us that this is the calendar. Super cool. So, Isaac, we just make sure is that still going? Okay. Will somebody look up John 1:29 for me? Okay. What did Yahshua do on Rosh Hashanah? So this is according to the chronological Gospels, this text. So we're going to see what he was doing on Rosh Hashanah. Read it, Miss Maggie.
The next day, John saw Yahshua coming toward him and said, "Look, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. This is the one I meant when I said, a man who comes after me has surpassed me because he was before me."
Okay. So, what happens to Yeshua on Rosh Hashanah? He comes out of his wilderness test on the first day of the year. How cool is that? On the first day of Yehovah's year, Yeshua comes out of his test where what did he do? He did the 2 R's. He relied, he resisted, and he relied. So he passed that test, and he came out of the wilderness, and Yohanan ben Zakkai is standing there. Yahshua had just been through the mikvah of suffering, one of his, I had several, been through this massive mikvah of suffering, and Yohanan ben Zakkai looks at him and proclaims to the world, there is the Lamb that takes away the sin of the world. There is the Messiah. How cool is that? So it's kind of like I think if you look at that, it's kind of like a mikvah of identification in the midst of a mikvah of suffering, or at the end of a mikvah of suffering. Ooh, I think I'm getting on yeah. Yeah, sit with that for a sec, because you have a mikvah of suffering, you've been proving yourself, you're tested, you come through that test, and then you're identified. Of course.
Spotlessly.
So I was just explaining to Connie that I'm like, isn't it funny that Passover is coming up and look at what's happening everywhere?
Right.
Isn't that,
Mhm.
that was just a note.
Mhm.
But catch this. Okay, wait, I gotta follow this through. Before he goes into the wilderness, he goes into the water. He does the water mikvah. When he comes up out of the water, voice from heaven voice of heaven says, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." Which gives an identification. It's his identification right there. And then the dove, the Ruach HaKodesh in the form of the dove comes and lands on him. And then the Ruach HaKodesh pushes him into the wilderness. Right at that moment, pushes him into the wilderness for his 40 days and 40 nights there. He gets tempted by Hasatan, goes through the mikvah of suffering, tempted by Hasatan, overcomes that fear with resisting the lie of that he's been abandoned by Papa, and relies on Papa and says he's going to guard the covenant. He comes out of the wilderness the next day, on the first day of the year. Yohanan is standing there and he says, "There is the Lamb that takes away the sin of the world." Another identification. That's cool, because he had to go through the suffering and prove himself so that he could be identified. Okay, so when somebody just goes and gets mikvahed in the water and you say, "Yay, you went down and you came up and now you're identified." Oh, wait a minute. I'm not so sure. Like right now while I'm processing this, that person has got to go through the next mikvah, which is a mikvah of suffering, and go through that.
It's a stranger. Oh no!
What was that? Oh, was it Mike?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Wait a minute, because there's an identification. I'm sorry, I'm stuck here. There's an identification on one side of the wilderness, and there's an identification on the other side.
He's a son on one side.
So you're saying that
He's
he
a
was
lamb.
He was a lamb
So
sacrifice.
he was baptized.
Yeah.
And that's when John the Baptist said that this is the Son of God.
When Yohanan ben Zakkai, John the Baptist, doesn't say anything the first time.
When he's baptized.
He doesn't say anything in the water.
So after he was baptized, he goes into the wilderness, and
Right.
then that's when he goes through the temptations,
Right.
he relies, and then he comes back from the wilderness,
Right.
and that's when he says, okay, so what,
So he comes back to the Jordan River where
Yes.
John Baptist is baptizing. He comes back to there out of the wilderness. And that's when Yohanan identifies him as the Lamb that takes away the sin of the world. Another identification. So when we stand on the side of the river and we watch somebody mikvah and come out. We Isaac and I both, we always say, yay, we identify you as the son or daughter of the living Elohim, which is true, except that I'm just realizing that person's going to go through another mikvah of suffering and then needs to be re-identified and get time to prove it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you could go ahead and it's just like when you're 12 years old and you go get dunked in the dunk tank and it's like nothing's changed for me. Like you're talking about with Riley. She gets dunked. Why do you want to mikvah? Why do you want to baptize what's going to change in your life? She might want it. So you might want it. So you get in the water and you get mikvah, but you haven't proved anything. Mm-hmm. So you have to go through that mikvah of suffering, like Yeshua did, and then you get identified again as, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I'm tracking.
I always thought that when he was baptized, that's when he said, "Behold the Son." At first, so
I know, right?
I don't know why. I just don't have the story clear in my head. But
Read it for yourself.
When
Let's
is
just
it?
make sure. Well, John, that was when he came out.
was it in Matthew?
And what was that scripture that you read?
John 29.
Oh,
John
29.
John 1:29.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Oh,
sorry.
okay. I was like, that's why I
John
couldn't find
1:20.
it.
And what was John 1:29 saying?
That's when he came back from the wilderness. And
That's
John
when he came
proclaimed
back
him
from the
as-
wilderness. Okay. So let's.
So John said,
Yeah. So John says, "Behold, this is a."
I don't know if it's right here. It's got to be in another.
yeah, it says, the next day John saw Yeshua coming toward him. John said, look, the Lamb of God. He takes away the sin of the world.
Where's that, Vanessa?
John 1:29.
John 1:29.
Yeah, when Yeshua is the Lamb of God.
And
Okay,
so
so Matthew 3:13. Okay. Yeah. So John 3:13. Or Matthew 3:13 says it talks about his mikvah. So basically, Yeshua comes to Yohanan ben Zakkai and says, "I want to be mikvahed," and Yohanan ben Zakkai is like, no, basically I should be mikvahed by you. But then it doesn't say anymore that he was talking. It says that the voice from heaven and then the spirit like a dove. So you don't see Yohanan say anything until he comes out of the wilderness on Rosh Hashanah. Okay. Oh boy. Sorry. Okay. Question: Did the religious leaders ever confront Yeshua on calendar,
Or the other way around.
or did Yeshua? Thank you. It's the other way around. Is better. Sorry. Did Yeshua ever confront the rabbis on calendar issue? Did he ever say to them, "You're celebrating Shabbat on the wrong day"? Did he ever say you got the new moon all screwed up? Did he ever say you're celebrating the feast days on the wrong day? No. He never once said it. Don't you think if they were following the wrong calendar at that time, that he would have been all over their rear over it? I think so. He was all over them about other things, right? He was always telling them, this is wrong, this is right, knock it off, blah, blah, blah. He never once, and this is what almost every single teacher of the calendar doesn't seem to comprehend. Yeshua, who is our high priest, has more of a right to talk about calendar than we do, and he doesn't even approach it. So we have to look at what calendar were they keeping. Okay? So they were keeping the Aviv barley sided moon calendar. That's what they were doing at that time because they had the temple. And they needed a certain thing very badly on first fruits. So you have, here we're going to do this real quick. You have I'm going to totally do this wrong. Okay.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So let's just say this day is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so and the head of the year. So let's just say this is day number 1. So when is Passover? How do you find Passover?
On the 14th. On
It
the
says-
14th day.
The Passover is always on the 14th day of the month. So we're going to count. 1.
Why don't you make it the same as it?
Go ahead.
If,
Oh, on
are we
that.
going to run into trouble later if we don't make it the same as that was his crucifixion year.
Yeah, we could do it that way. This would be
So
day
put 14 on.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Shabbat. So day 1 was right here, right?
Because the 14th is
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Passover. Start from 14 and go back, right?
Okay, right here.
No, one more down.
What?
Go down one more.
See, I wanted to just count from.
Okay.
Okay, so
I just thought you
right
might run
here.
into confusion later.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this will be Passover. Okay, so back up 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this is Rosh Hashanah. Okay. So you got that. So we got Rosh Hashanah right here. You count 14 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 14 is Passover. He's got a camera. Okay, what is the date? What is the day after Passover?
Unleavened bread.
Unleavened bread. Yeah,
The first high day.
the first high day of unleavened bread. Unleavened bread. Now, how long does unleavened bread go?
7 days.
7 days. So we're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then it's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Then unleavened bread stops right there. Now, is this a high day?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we got high day, high day. Is Rosh Hashanah a high day?
No.
No. Is Passover a high day? No. Passover's a work day. Okay, so this is why it is so important to find the right Rosh Hashanah, the right head of the year. We have first fruits that falls in here. When does first fruit fall? The Feast of First Fruits. When does that fall?
Sunday.
The Sunday after the weekly Shabbat during unleavened bread. So what would that be? The Sunday after the weekly Shabbat during unleavened bread. So this is unleavened bread.
Wait, so it's the Sunday when?
The Sunday after the weekly Shabbat
Okay.
during unleavened bread. So here's unleavened bread. Here's the weekly Shabbat.
Yes, and so it's this Sunday.
So first fruits is right here.
So first fruits.
It's always on a Sunday.
It's always on a
always
Sunday.
on a Sunday.
Always on a Sunday.
Okay.
When you have first fruits floating around on a different day, you've got calendar
that's-
problems.
Yeah, because that is when Yahshua rose, right?
Yahshua rose.
Can I just give you like an example?
Yeah, let me write this down. Like resurrection. So he resurrected right before Shabbat on that day, but he makes his first fruit offering in heaven with 144,000 right here on this day. Go ahead, Adessa.
So for example, about Yeshua's life during this. So I know Passover is a work day. I know that, and also that's the high day. But he's also Yeshua was in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights as Jonah did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So
day one.
it was start on this night, like 1, 2, 3, and then right here at sunset, and he resurrects
Right. So a full
that morning.
yeah, you have 3 full days and 3 full nights.
Yeah.
That he's in the grave. But we're going to cover that more. So right now we're just going to look at how to find Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is this next week, supposedly. So there's 2 methods by which we find Rosh Hashanah according to the scriptures. Aviv, barley, and sighted moon. So let's see here. Where's my articles? Hi, Mike. He's so glad you're here. Okay, we're going to look up scriptures. Exodus 12:2. Hadassah, get Exodus 12:2. Oh, you do it? Oh, go ahead, Amber. I'll give Hadassah Exodus 13:3-5. Amber, what does Exodus 12:2 say?
This month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you.
Okay, so we know that definitely wipes out the idea of it being in the fall. Because if you go on, it talks about when they came out of Egypt. So go ahead, Hadassah.
13 what?
13, 3 to 5.
I heard something too, like,
13, 3 through 5.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then Amber 23, 15.
It says, then Moses said to the people, remember this day is the day you came out of Egypt. That's the land where you were slaves. Yahweh used his mighty hand to bring you out of Egypt. Don't eat anything that has yeast in it. You are leaving today is the month of Aviv, the month of Aviv. So right there, it's very clear that we see that. Can you erase this for me, Izzy? We can clearly see that. Oh wait, no, actually, never mind. We'll just use it this way. We can clearly see that the month of Aviv is what Yehovah names the month they come out of Egypt, right? So Aviv. It's the only month he names. It's just like the day of the week. The only day of the week he names is what? Shabbat. He names Shabbat, but he names this month. This is the only month he names. It's the month of Aviv that they come out. So when did they come out? Remember the story? They came out on unleavened bread that night. Remember they roasted their lambs on Passover, put the blood of the lambs over their doors, and then actually started moving on the high day, which is interesting. That's so cool. Check this out. You have high day here, high day here. They actually leave on Shabbat. They're traveling on Shabbat. And they get all the way to the sea on this Shabbat. And this Shabbat is when that sea parted. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
What was it, 23 what?
Exodus 13, 23.
I think she just...
Oh, sorry, no. Exodus 23, 15. Sorry.
15. Okay.
And then, Kim, will you get Deuteronomy 16:1?
Oh, wait.
Hadassah, get Exodus 23, or Exodus 34, 18.
34?
You 34, 18. And Amber, go ahead. Do you have it?
Okay. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread as I command you, and you shall eat unleavened bread for 7 days at the appointed time.
Okay. Unleavened bread at the appointed time. Very good. So we're in the month of Aviv.
What is it,
16:1.
Observe the month of Aviv and keep the Passover to the Lord your God. For in the month of Aviv, the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt by night.
So that's awesome. He mentions it twice in there. Observe the month of Aviv, which is super important.
16:1.
Was it Exodus?
Just Deuteronomy.
Okay.
Okay, Hadassah, what's yours?
Celebrate the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days, eat bread that is made without yeast, just as I commanded you. Do it at the appointed time in the month of Aviv.
Okay.
You came out of Egypt.
All right, so I have no idea. In my mind, I cannot fathom how these teachers out there are getting around these texts. Especially, I mean, it's so clear. It's like the month of Aviv is when you come out. Okay, so clearly we have to look at what Aviv means and shouldn't be looking at equinox calendar and all this garbage. Okay, equinox calendar, just remember, if anyone wants to tempt you to figure a time by equinox, that is a man-made thing. That's not something observable. That's a calculation. That's mathematics. That would require an elite people in Israel who knew mathematics to be able to, and everybody would be dependent on those elite people to understand when the equinox is happening. He doesn't do it that way. He says right there in your verse, observe. So anyone who understood agriculture was going to be able to know what Aviv meant and to be able to observe it. Now we find out what Aviv actually means when you see the plagues hit, what was it, the hail that hit Egypt. You see the 3 stages of barley, I think barley and wheat in those 3, the caramel, dark, and Aviv. So we know what the state of the barley was when they left Egypt, actually, which is very interesting. So, but let's keep on going here. So there are 2 conditions that have to be met to find Yehovah's calendar, or his reckoning of time to find this calendar, starting with Rosh Hashanah. And that is Aviv, We have to figure out what Aviv means, and we have to observe that next moon. Because he goes by, his months are determined by the new moon. All right. Let's see. There are so many verses here. Okay, Rosh Hashanah is the new moon, or the month, the Hodesh. So, Rosh Hodesh is the new moon, or the month. And month and Hodesh, those two words are used interchangeably in the scriptures. So, the scriptures that teach us about observing the moon are, and I'm going to give you a whole bunch of scriptures, so write these down. These are the scriptures that talk to us about how to observe with our eyes that moon, okay? And so, you ready? All right, Deuteronomy 16:1. Numbers 10:10. Numbers 28:11 through 15. 1 Chronicles 23:31. 2 Chronicles 2:4. 2 Chronicles 8:13. 2 Chronicles 31:3. Ezra 3:5. Ezekiel 46:1, 3 and 6. Going to that. Acts 18:21. Acts 27:9. A couple more. 1 Corinthians 5:7-8. Colossians 2:16. And Ezekiel 46:3. Now, if I got some of those accidentally wrong, I'm sorry. When you read them, they're supposed to be about observing the moon, okay? So,
What was the last one? Ezekiel what?
Ezekiel 46:3.
Ezekiel 46:3.
Uh-huh. Now, in Deuteronomy 16:1, when it says observe, that is the Hebrew word shamar, Shamar. And guess what it means? To look narrowly for. So when we go out for the new moon, we're watching for the new moon, we're squinting, like, where is that moon? I don't see it. And Maggie always sees it first. Although last time I saw it first.
Well, I wasn't there, so.
Yeah, you weren't there, so you probably would have seen it first. I spotted it between buildings as we were flying down the street. No, to observe narrowly. So you're going to be like peeling your eyes looking for that moon. Where is it? Is it here yet? Is it here yet? Which we're practicing on the moon because at some point we're going to do it when Yahshua comes. So there's two very, very important moons to look for. Which are they? First, the Rosh Hashanah moon. Okay, so, and then the seventh new moon, which is Yom Teruah. That happens on a new moon. So that is the feast, and we'll go into that more, but that's the feast that you don't know exactly when it's going to happen. The day and hour that no man knows. Yeah, I don't know exactly, because you're looking narrowly for that. Now, with Rosh Hashanah, so the idea here is that you find Aviv barley in Israel, and then the moon, the new moon after that, is Rosh Hashanah. Okay? You have to have barley in Israel ready to be harvested at first fruits for the first fruit offering.
Where does it mention that?
I'll show you. Let me show you. Okay.
Sorry, Amber.
That's okay. I didn't write all of them down either. I got some of them, but then, yeah. And I
Okay.
probably even wrote some of the verses there.
Let's see.
I was trying to get some verses too.
Go ahead here.
Oh wait, what was it? I just all of a sudden lost my brain. What did you ask?
Well, I asked where in scripture it says to look for you have to find the Aviv barley.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, okay. Oh no.
But
Okay,
I didn't
no.
know where you
It doesn't tell us to say. He doesn't say find Aviv barley. Doesn't say that. So I'll be honest with you, it doesn't say that. But what it does says is the month of Aviv. So we have to look it's kind of like a little detective work. You have to say, okay, we understand that he says the month of Aviv is when we came out of Egypt.
Yeah.
So we have to look at what does Aviv mean. Now, Nehemiah Gordon spent 20 years of his life trying to figure out what Aviv means. So in the scriptures, you'll see, if somebody could find it real quick, where it talks about the three different stages of barley at the time during the plagues. So when the hail is fallen, you'll see three different kinds. You'll see caramel, Aviv, and dark, I think it is. And it will begin to tell us what Aviv looks like. I don't think it was harmed by the hail. And so Nehemiah went into a lot of work to figure out what that exactly means. Did you find it?
I got the plague of hail.
Maggie, would you pour me some water? Thank
Okay. Alright, so the plague of hail, the flax and the barley were destroyed. Well, this is New International, King James would be better.
What's the scripture reference?
Okay, so this is Exodus 9:31 and 32.
For the barley was in the ear and the flax was in bud. But the wheat and the emmer were not struck down, for they are late in coming up.
In the ear means Aviv.
Okay, in the ear means Aviv.
You know,
So right here, I brought.
you know what's cool about the moon?
So they need to find the Aviv, so they need to find the ear in the.
And this
the-
is where.
So
for the
what-
barley was in
right.
the ear, so they need to
So-
find the ear in the barley, and then you find the new moon.
Right.
Right.
And that's how you. Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I
That's
didn't
how
know
it's a
that.
little formula. And anybody can do it. You could be illiterate and still be able to do this. This is the important
Right, so
part of this.
imagine
And that's
a
how you
field
know
of-
when there's a new. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
cool. I
I know.
never knew that.
So like just imagine a field of grain and a big bunch of hailstones fall on it, and one field is, the barley is ripe, so it's turned brown and it's brittle,
Okay.
and it's gonna get broken and destroyed because it's,
'Cause
well,
it
not
was-
fully
yeah.
ripe, but almost, but yet it's more brittle, so it's gonna get broken. Whereas the wheat, which ripens later, is still green, which means
Okay.
flexible.
So,
So
it
it's
wasn't
gonna
destroyed.
bend and then come back up, and it was not destroyed.
So it was the barley that was destroyed, right?
Right, because
Yeah, because it was already past the
it
stage.
was in the ear, it had formed heads and yada yada.
For the barley and the flax.
So yeah, Nehemiah is
the
like, he spent
emmer.
20 years of his life researching this, and he was in the land, he's in the barley, he's in the fields, he's feeling it for so long, and he knows. And so we learned from him what that looks like and what that means. I mean, looks like as in we haven't been there and held it in my own hands, but seen pictures and stuff. But the point is that now we have, with wonderful internet, we have a team of people over there that's actually looking for the barley if it's Aviv. And you need that barley Aviv because you have to have this first fruits offering, because you weren't supposed to eat of the grain until it had been offered to Papa. That doesn't mean you couldn't have harvested it before, but it just means you couldn't eat of it until it had been offered to him. So that's why, and it's wonderful because then sometimes there's this 13-month thing where the barley is not Aviv, and you have to add another 13th month. That makes up for that leap year idea. So that new moon,
Right, and so just real.
go ahead.
Yeah, so real briefly, the stage, Aviv means green, so it's green, but it also is green ears, so it's formed a head.
Right.
And it is, can't be harvested yet, you can't thrash it, cause it's not dried,
Right.
fully dried out, like fully ripe grain, cause it's still got a green to it. But, you can, it's edible, cause you can parch it in fire, right? That's what
Right.
some of them say, when it's at that stage here. But if it's at that stage by here, that means that then it's got 2 weeks to become fully ripe,
Fully right. That's right.
in time
For
for
first fruits.
to have fully
Good
ripe
point.
grain by first fruits, right?
Oh, okay.
There you go. That's a good point. Let me rehearse that. So, barley Aviv by here would mean that it still had 2 weeks to develop fully, so that it would be fully ripe for first fruit, so they could harvest it. That's right. Because you don't want to harvest Aviv barley. It's not ready yet, completely, but you can parch it and still eat it up here. That's cool.
But
And do you
Yeah.
know what's
I'm
really
not
cool?
tracking how how the calendar mandates when barley is harvest or ripe, because depends on when you plant it, depends on the water.
It's
depends
the
on
wild barley.
The wild.
They go by wild barley.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not commercially grown or anything. You're right.
I
No,
was
it's
like,
just
scratching my head
wild.
going, how's that?
No. Yeah, you're right. No, you could fudge that and make it whatever you wanted,
You
but
could
wild barley's different.
force it with irrigation and different things, right? Yeah.
So the team goes and they look at wild barley. They don't the stuff on the side of the street and that sort of thing. Yeah. Cool. All right. So, I know it's getting late. Do you
And you know what's also cool about the moon? I know it's a new moon on this day, but it's actually waxing while it's doing that, and then and when it gets full moon, and then on this night of the unleavened bread, when they come out of Egypt, they are traveling under the full moon.
right?
Like as you can see in the patterns
Oh,
of
yeah.
evidence, like we see with them, and that's what they did.
Do you know what I'm saying? Have they released that movie yet? Like,
They
is it
did.
out
They
for
just
other
kind of
people?
noticed they're not gonna release it on May 5th like they were gonna, because theaters are shut down.
I know that. So the one that you guys all went and watched, is that one
Oh,
out
on
available
DVD?
to buy yet?
I don't know.
Because I would like to.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it is. Yeah.
So, a new moon, is
Mhm.
that the sliver on the left or the sliver
On the
on
right.
the right?
On the right. When I first started this, I sent out an invite to everyone. I put the new moon on the
So-
left. I was severely told to do no.
So it's on the right,
It's
so
on the
that
right.
would go, and it grows to the left.
Right.
So is that the reason why Hebrew or Greek is read from right to left?
Hebrew, right? I don't know. Maybe that's a good code
Good
thing
point.
there. That could be
way to remember.
a good way to remember it.
Interesting.
That
Yeah.
was a good way to
Interesting.
remember it.
Yeah.
Goes from-
For
goes
the
from right to
longest
left.
time.
Yeah, that's
when I
really cool.
started doing this, I thought that a new moon was a full moon.
Oh yeah, I know.
I always
Shows
thought the
you
new
how
moon was a
educated
full
I
moon
am.
too, but it's actually the sliver.
The maiden moon, the sliver. The new is renewed. Yeah, super cool. So it's like that. It's been dark for a couple days, and you don't exactly when it's going to show up, and you're looking narrowly for it, and then as soon as it appears, yes, it's the new moon. And you practice on that because you're practicing ultimately for the month, the 7th month, because Yom Teruah, which is all about the return of the King, comes on that day. So you're not going to be looking for a moon that day. That night you're
We're
going to
gonna
be
be
looking for
gone,
Yeshua.
hopefully.
No, we're gonna be waiting for Yeshua and be looking for him narrowly, going, oh, he's coming, there he is, yes! Yes! Ha ha ha! Praise ya!
Party.
Praise ya! Okay, just a couple things. Give me 3 reasons why we should not celebrate Rosh Hashanah in the fall.
Because it's not
Because it's not it.
It's not biblical.
It's
We're
not biblical.
told to celebrate it.
It's distraction from what Yom Teruah is all about, and unity and error is not unity in the Messiah. And I refuse to be a part of fellowship that I know is not walking in truth.
It's pretty much just like Christians saying that Jesus was born on Christmas. It's like saying that
Ugh.
Jesus, even though they may have think that, or even though they may be able to prove that, the first of creation was on this day, that's not when Yahweh told us to celebrate the new year. He told us to celebrate it in Aviv.
Right. So I just want to just leave you with 2 thoughts. One is that you're gonna as you all know, calendar is a hot topic. But again, any equinox, rabbinical calendar, so the Jews are not on the same calendar. They are on, the Sanhedrin met after the temple was destroyed, and they got together and they made a mathematical calendar. That's what they're still on. And it was so that everyone in dispersion could do things at the same time, which is understandable on some hand, but at the same time they changed his laws. So, and as far as I understand, the Orthodox rabbis know that they should be going back to the other because they're all in the land right now, but they're refusing. So, although there actually are some Orthodox Jews that are doing it this way, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, so if you hear of equinox calendar or patriarchal calendar or what are some of the other ones? Enochian calendar, like Enochian calendar. So there's the Melchizedek ministry Torah to the tribes. I'm sad. He has torn this fledgling Melchizedek movement apart with his calendar. He was this calendar, preached this, he was a rabbinical calendar. He moved to this one. He preached this one. He believed this one. And then he decided that the priesthood needed their own calendar. So he went and began equinox calendar, and then he decided that he was going to create his own. He literally has his own calendar. There's also a spin-off of his group. They keep the Qumran calendar. All of these are man-made calendars. And like Torah to the Tribe says, they say he has it documented right there on video. It's not a perfect calendar, people. We can't know his calendar, so we're just going to do our best and try to find a calendar. He says this literally on, anyway. So, point being is just be aware of other calendars out there. But Aviv, barley, and Side Moon is the cleanest. This is the one that is the biblical. The second thing is I just want to leave you with is when you celebrate Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year. And I believe, and I've read things about the rabbis and stuff have written that they believe, and I think I totally am in agreement, that day one was Rosh Hashanah. So the creation of the world started on Rosh Hashanah.
So everything is new.
Everything's new.
beginning.
Right. So it's a celebration of creation. And so one of the things to do on Rosh Hashanah, I believe, is to begin to prepare the soil of your heart for the feast coming up. So that when those seeds of his feast and his things gets planted in our hearts, that we have good soil so that can grow well. So something to think about, and how maybe you can till the soil of your heart or aerate it or cultivate it so that it can receive the seeds that are going to be planted during the spring feast. So that's pretty much all I've got for today. We are going to have a Rosh Hashanah party at our place on Thursday, on the actual day. If you want to come, we do a Hawaiian party. And the reason we do a Hawaiian party is because we think paradise restored. Tropical. So we have pina coladas, and we have pineapple. We have all kinds of fruit, and we dress in Hawaiian clothes and pretend that it's nice and sunny and hot and outside. So
We turn the heat up in the house.
we turn the heat. No, we don't. All right, YHVH Elohim, again, I just want to say thank you for being with us today and for your Shabbat. And pray that your Ruach HaKodesh lives in us to make us temples so that we shine bright, so Hasatan looks at us and just flees away. And I pray that you cover your people during this hard, bumpy ride, but give them deep joy and shalom as we travel towards the end of all things as we know it, and usher in your good kingdom. I love you, and I can't wait for your new year. Amen.
Good job, Rebecca.
We're gonna make an earth cake. Oh, I'm super excited.
Oh,
I've always wanted to make an earth cake, so
a round one.
a round one, spherical,
Not flat?
not flat earth, not round earth, spherical.
I have to tell you something.
Are we gonna make it out of
I
earth?
gotta tell you something.
All right, let's go.
Mom, do you want me to do this?
Dirt cake?
I'll just say goodbye. Bye, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Everybody say bye.
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 Here,
I
we'll
brought
go.
back your book.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Bye, everyone.
No, I wanted to tell you. So remember